Okay, if you look at the challenge question, we want to rewrite that rational expression as an equivalent rational expression with a given denominator. Well, the problem with that is that looks really hard. So before we do that problem, I want to take a look at this problem. Okay? In this problem, it looks a little easier, and I'll show you why. If you recall, we've done this, mod 4. If I had 3/5 and I wanted to make an equivalent, try it again, 3/5, and when I wanted to make an equivalent fraction, what I did was I saw what was missing. 5 goes into 24 times, and I multiplied the top and the bottom by 4, and I got 12. We're doing the exact same thing except with algebra. Notice, okay? My denominator only has x minus 4, the quantity x minus 4, and the quantity x plus 1. But this denominator has an extra x minus 2 factor. So if I wanted to look like that, I can do that, okay? But what that means for me is I'd have to multiply this by x minus 2. But if I multiply this by x minus 2, then I got to multiply this by x minus 2, because the only thing we're allowed to multiply a fraction by is 1. When I use parentheses, because it's this whole thing times this whole thing, x minus 2. So my question mark is actually 5x plus 1 times x minus 2. Now, sometimes that's all you want. Sometimes you're done. It's really going to depend on your instructor. Sometimes you're going to have to multiply out. And if you do, you get 5x squared minus 10x plus 1x minus 2, which is 5x squared minus 10x, minus 9x. I was just pretending nothing else was there. Okay, minus 9x minus 2. So that's how you build a fraction. Okay, so first you have to make sure we have factors. So notice how this is factored all the way. So first we have to make sure we have factors in a denominator. On numerator, it doesn't have to be factored, because what happens to our numerator, it actually gets multiplied together. So we don't need to factor that. In fact, if we do, it's kind of like going backwards. Okay? And then you want to multiply by the missing factor, whatever's missing, to get you that new denominator. Missing factor over missing factor, and that's it, you're done. So what I'd like you to do is, well, first I'd like to revisit the challenge question, and then I'm going to ask you to do some problems. So let's take a second to look at the challenge question. All right, here's the deal. I want this to look like this. The problem is I don't know what's missing. And the reason I don't know what's missing is because I don't have factors. So I have to factor all the denominators. Even if I could factor the numerator, I don't have to bother. So I'm going to factor this denominator first. Pull out a 2, and we get x plus 2. 1. That was nice and easy. Now I'm going to take this one, because this looks like a big one. So I'm going to take this one and move it over here for a minute and factor it. Okay, look for our GCF. It's 2x. Make one set of parentheses when you have a GCF, and we get x squared plus 3x plus 2. Now I have to factor that. X and x, everybody's plus. 2 can only be 2 and 1. Check your middle term. I promise you have it. So this is what this is. This is 2x, x plus 2, x plus 1. Okay? That's what that is. All right. So here's the deal. What do we want to do here? Well, we want this to look like this. So we have to figure out what is missing. Well, what's missing is this has an x and this doesn't. So we have to multiply this by an x. Okay? Well, let me use a different color so you can see, otherwise it looks like a mess. Okay? So you need an x, and you also need a x plus 1. So that's what's missing from this denominator to look like this denominator. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And that's what your question mark is equal to. Okay, so the question mark is actually x times x, or x squared, times the quantity x plus 1. If we simplify that, we get x cubed plus x squared. Now for me, that's really great. That's awesome. I'm done. I love it. However, sometimes you want to put it over what we started with, so you may want to write it as x cubed plus x squared over 2x cubed plus 6x squared plus 4x. Okay, because to be honest, that's what you were trying to do. You were trying to fill that in, and now you just did. But that's the question mark, and that's how you get it. So you have to factor the denominators and then multiply by what's missing. So there are 3 problems left for this whole mod. Okay, finish those off, and we'll come back and talk about them. All right, let's take care of this guy. All right, first of all, these are already factors, so this one's pretty easy. I have to figure out what I'm missing to get to 21. So 7 is missing a 3, and the x is missing an x to make it x squared, because now that's 21x squared. So whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top, because I can only multiply by 1. So that question mark is 6x. That question mark is 6x. So we have 6x over 21x squared. We're done. Don't reduce that. You know what will happen? You get back to that. Okay? So be very careful about that. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2, we're going to try to factor the denominators only. This cannot be factored. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go like that. All right, here, I want to factor that. That's 6 times the quantity y minus 2. So we have to say to ourselves, self, what is the y minus 2 missing from being the 6 times the quantity y minus 2? Well, that's a 6. So we're going to multiply this by 6. So we're going to multiply this by 6. That makes our question mark 12y. That makes our question mark 12y. So we get 12y over 6y minus 12. And we're done with that one. All right, let's take a look at this very last one. We're going to factor this. This is 10 over, taking an a, we get a minus 2. Okay? Here, I want to leave myself some room here. Okay? Equals question mark. I'm going to take it an a again, and I get a squared minus 4. Now we have the difference of 2 squares. Okay, so let's deal with that. So I'm going to finish factoring this. So I got 10 over, that's the bad one again. Okay, I have 10 over a times a minus 2, and that equals question mark, difference of 2 squares, a times a minus 2 times a plus 2. Okay, so let's see what we got to do here. Well, we have an a, so we're done there. We have an a minus 2. We need an a plus 2. So the question mark is 10 times the quantity a plus 2, or 10a plus 20. Okay, so we can write this as one answer here. It could be 10a plus 20 question mark over a cubed minus 4a. We are done with this mod. Awesome. Okay, so that's it.